Take it easy, Tesla fans. The title of this video isn't meant to anger you. There are cars out there that are better than a Tesla, and this may just be one of them. For one, it costs less than a Model S. It also drives a lot better. Not to mention, it looks better on the outside, and the interior quality is 10 times better than what Tesla or even many other luxury brands can come up with. On the other hand, unlike the base Model S, this doesn't have all-wheel drive. It gets about 100 miles less on a full charge. And it's much slower, doing 60 in 5.1 seconds. Let's just launch this. Left foot on the brake, gas all the way down, launch control activated. Yeah, this is the most peaceful electric car acceleration that I've ever experienced. My name is Omar, and this is the most affordable Porsche Taycan that you can buy. Alright, so when the Taycan first came out a little over 2 years ago, it was pretty expensive and the range wasn't all that impressive. Well, Porsche has been making an attempt to change all of that, and the base Taycan is one of those solutions. Now, yes, I know what you're thinking. Technically, this isn't the Taycan that competes directly with the Model S. That title belongs to the Taycan 4S. But this base model here costs $18,000 to $19,000 less than both of those. See, I don't hate Tesla, not at all. They have some issues, but who doesn't? I'm just trying to tell you that there might be some better alternatives out there. Hell, I even think this is a better alternative than the Taycan 4S, and definitely a better alternative than the Mercedes EQS. And it all depends on what matters to you most as a driver and an owner. And I'll present my full argument in a few minutes, but first, let me give you a quick tour of the most affordable Taycan that you can buy. I'll give you all the EV stats of this thing. We'll take a look inside. We'll do a quick walk around outside. And then we'll get back in here and I'll tell you why I think this is one EV luxury sedan that you should seriously consider. Make sure you hit like, make sure you hit subscribe. All right, let's do this. So when the Taycan first came out, it was pretty expensive, but Porsche is now offering this, the base rear-wheel drive Taycan, for less money and of course, less power. Now the Taycan lineup has grown with a variety of body styles, powertrains, and range options. And because of that, there is a huge price jump between the base Taycan that starts at $86,700 to the top-of-the-line Taycan Turbo S Cross Turismo that cost $113,300 more at $190,000. Of course, keep in mind that Porsche offers its menu of options and features mostly a la carte, so no matter which Taycan you go for, the price can go up pretty high depending on what you're looking for. So as tested here, the base Taycan model that I'm driving carries a final price tag of around $116,000. Comparatively, the base Taycan is still less than the base Tesla Model S. In fact, it's actually less than the entry-level Audi e-tron GT, which this shares a lot with. Of course, it's important to point out that the base Taycan is less powerful than both the entry-level e-tron GT and the base Tesla Model S. So the rear-wheel drive Taycan with the performance battery comes with a single motor, helping it make 321 horsepower and 254 pound-feet of torque. Now, with launch control, that output jumps to 402 horsepower. If you add on the performance battery plus option for $5,780, those figures jump to 375 horsepower or 469 with launch control. Because of that, the base Taycan is obviously the slowest in the Taycan family, going from 0 to 60 in 5.1 seconds. Now, as soon as you step up to the Taycan 4S, you'll be able to hit 60 in just 3.8 seconds. The fastest Taycan, the Turbo S, can hit 60 in just 2.6 seconds, which is insane. But yeah, if 0 to 60 runs is something that you enjoy, the base Taycan is probably not for you. All right, let's talk Taycan range. Now, for some reason, the range figures on the Taycan have been pretty controversial. According to the EPA, the Taycan that I'm driving here with the performance battery will hit 200 miles of range on a full charge. Now, I took delivery of this with over 240 miles of range, and it has been hanging on pretty well to its charge, so I'm guessing the EPA is pretty conservative. AMCI, an independent firm that is known for doing some pretty strict real-life testing, was able to hit 250 miles with the performance battery. As for the Performance Battery Plus, the EPA says that will do 225 miles on a full charge, while AMCI quotes a range of 282 miles. I did some digging into this, and a couple of Taycan owners got back to me saying that they get much more range than what the EPA quotes. Inside EVs did their tests and they were able to hit 297 miles on a full charge. So yeah, take this with a grain of salt. Alright, let's talk about how long it'll take you to charge the Taycan. Porsche says that the base performance battery can charge up to 225 kilowatts, while the optional 93.5 kilowatt battery can charge up to 270. But regardless of battery size, Porsche says that they both charge at the same rate. If you use a 50 kilowatt DC fast charger, you can go from 5 to 80% in 93 minutes. And if all is perfect in the world and you hit the maximum charging power, you can do 5 to 80% in 22.5 minutes. Now, one interesting thing to point out about the charge port, the higher end trims of the Taycan have a really cool way of opening the charge port where you just slide your finger under a sensor and they slide open very nice and theatrically. Here on the base and more affordable Taycan, you just push it and open it. Nonetheless, you do have charge ports on both sides like other Taycans. AC charging is available on both sides. However, DC fast charging is only available on the passenger side port. Alright, let's hop inside the new Taycan and get to the fun part, the tech and the screens. First up, you have this beautiful and sharp 16.8-inch curved display for the gauge cluster. And of course, it's pretty customizable, but at the same time, it isn't overbearing. The middle dial will let you circle through some viewing modes, including a full screen map view, which looks absolutely gorgeous, and it's very crisp and very clean. But you also have a view called Reduced, where you have a very simple and clean look with some relevant information. If you're in the regular view, the left dial will show you some various information on your Taycan. The right dial is also pretty much information based, but yeah, overall, I really like the look and feel of this. It's very clean and very simple. Now, if you look closely around the gauge cluster, you'll notice that you have some touch controls for various things. On the left side, you have your lighting selections, and then on the right side, you have buttons for your traction, suspension, ride height, and a shortcut button. That is very cool. That said, as with traditional Porsche models, you have your start and stop button located to the left side of the gauge cluster or the left side of the steering wheel. And check this out, on the right side of the steering wheel, you have your tiny toggle gear selector. Let me know what you think about this. I think this is an interesting placement, but let me know what you think about this gear shift or gear selector. And while we're here in this section, let's quickly talk about the steering wheel. It's very nice to hold and feels very high quality. But the most standout part on the steering wheel is the drive mode selector. You just turn it to find your mode and you'll see the drive mode selections in the gauge cluster. Now, the next screen I want to talk about is this 10.9-inch or 11-inch touchscreen display in the middle that houses a new version of the Porsche Communication Management infotainment system. And it's pretty straightforward. You have an app section where you can go and select various sections. You obviously have wireless Apple CarPlay and you have wired Android Auto. You also have navigation and basically all the other stuff that you would expect. Now, to the right, you have other sections that you can dive into quickly, like your vehicle settings, and you can adjust a few things like your drive settings and your driver assist settings. But let me point out the coolest section here, the climate settings. Now, all the vents on the Taycan are fixed. You can't manually move them around to adjust them. The only way to adjust the direction in which the vents blow out air is through this climate screen. You just grab one of these circles around the vents and you just drag it around to adjust where you want the air to blow. Which, yeah, is an extra step, but also kind of cool. Okay, on to the other screen, this 8.4-inch touchscreen display right here. On the top half of this screen, you have your climate controls where you can adjust the temperature and the fan speed. You can also turn on your heated and cooled seats. Now, at the bottom half of the screen, you have this blank area, which is basically a touchpad to control the top part of the screen. So yeah, you can use this screen to control the other screen. Interesting. There is something useful about this area. You can actually write out a destination right here for your navigation system if you don't want to type it in or use the voice assistant. Other than that, on the lower part of the screen, you have your volume control right down here, along with a camera button to the left. Now over here to the right, you have two other buttons. One is a battery button that will let you go in and see how much charge and range you have left. The other button will allow you to pop open the trunk or the frunk, which we'll check out in a few minutes. In higher end models of the Taycan, you can also open the charge port from right here. And that's it for the screens, at least on my test model. You can optionally add on a passenger screen for $1,130, so they don't get bored. But yeah, my test model doesn't have it. Now let's talk quality and comfort. As you would expect with Porsche, this interior is super high quality. This is probably the highest quality interior you'll see on any electric vehicle in the market today. Yeah, I'm looking at you, Tesla. Everything in here is just outstanding. Comfort-wise, it's also nice. The seats are pretty comfortable. They are heated as standard, but if you want ventilated seats or massaging seats, you can add that on as an option. Adding both of them on together as an option will cost you $2,000. That said, as standard, you get a mixture of leather or partial leather. You can also add on full leather everywhere for over $4,600. Or you can go for this completely leather-free interior and get this race tech setup that will also cost you over $4,600. And I gotta say, I'm really not a fan of this style. Not only does it cost extra to get no leather, but it feels kind of sharp and tough. It seems like you have cloth seats, but they have this piping around them that makes them feel a bit weird. And you also have the same race text material here on the doors. If I was going to get a Taycan, I would just stick with the regular leather. All right, let's check out the legroom in the second row. Now, Porsche doesn't provide official legroom numbers for the back, but once you get back here, you'll notice it's a little tight. I'm about 6 foot tall. That's my seating position. As you can see, I have okay room. It's good for short rides, but maybe a long journey, I don't think so. If somebody is 6 foot tall that's driving and somebody 6 foot tall is sitting behind them, they might have a little bit of a hard time. That said, you can only sit 2 people back here because the center is not an actual seat. You can also add on heated rear seats in the back for an extra $530 if you want to be nice to your family or friends. Let's check out the cargo capacity. Now you can pop the trunk by using your keys or the 8.3-inch screen in the front, or you can just hit this button located right here, and that opens it up to 14.3 cubic feet, which is not a lot of room, but I guess it's okay for a sedan of this size. And since this is an EV, you have a front. Now you can open the front by using that screen or using your keys, or you can just walk up and swipe in front of that Porsche logo and it pops open. And once you get it opened, you have 2.9 cubic feet, which again is not much, but hey, at least it's there. All right, so before I give you my opinion on how the Taycan stacks up against the competition and how it drives, let me point out a few important daily ownership highlights that I'd love to show all of you. You have 4 cup holders, 2 in the front right there, and then you have 2 in the back right there in the center armrest. Here are what the keys look like to the Taycan. You have a button for the trunk, the front, lock, unlock. Love Porsche keys. They have really the best design. Door open and close sound from the outside and from the inside. That is Porsche solid. Oh, by the way, it starts up as soon as you open the door and get inside and close it. Charging game-wise, in the front, you're working with a wireless charger and 2 USB-C ports right there. Of course, let's do an indicator and horn sound test. Indicator first. Pretty standard indicator. Now for the horn sound. Oh yeah, that is solid. All right, let's get to it. First, let me make my case for the base Taycan against the Taycan 4S. Yes, this is significantly slower than all of the other Taycans, but at the same time, it has all the power and performance that you're going to need on a daily basis. I have yet to meet an electric car owner that's always hard launching their car. The only time I really see it happen is when they're showing off their car to someone and say, oh, look what I can do. But when they're by themselves, they're keeping a light foot and cruising down the road, hoping to get the most range out of their charge. Now again, while this is slower than all of the other Taycans, this still moves and drives like them. It handles with such finesse, the steering wheel is so precise and so direct, it drives just like a Porsche should. Honestly, when it comes to driving this around on a daily basis, like a normal human being, you really won't be able to tell the difference between this and the 4S. Not to mention, this gets more range than the 4S. And I'll also say that this feels more comfortable than the other Taycans. Don't get me wrong, driving the higher end of the Taycan lineup is quite an experience. I've driven the Taycan Turbo, and I'll never forget that feeling. It was violent, scary, theatrical, and fun all at the same time. And this isn't a slouch either. Pop it into Sport Plus and hit the gas at any speed, and it takes off. Again, this has all the performance you're gonna need on a daily basis. I have yet to meet a Tesla Model S or Model S Plaid owner, or even a Taycan Turbo S owner that's like, I must hit 0 to 60 in 2 point whatever seconds every time I'm at a red light. It never happens. They drive like normal human beings as well. And as a normal human being car, this is awesome. But yeah, to me, this is a better alternative to the other Taycans if you don't care about speed. It costs less, it has more range, and it still has the Porsche driving feel to it. So why do I think that this base Taycan S is a better alternative to the base Tesla Model S? Again, it depends on what you want from your car as a driver and an owner. And you're totally allowed to disagree with me and think I'm wrong. You're allowed to have your own ideas. These are just my opinions and my feelings. Yes, the base Model S has more range, it's quicker. Yes, you have Tesla's amazing supercharger network, even though most of the people that own EVs charge them at home. The Model S wins all of those points, hands down. I'm not even arguing that. And if you're not willing to trade any of those things, then buy the Model S. But to me, I just feel like this is a better driving and overall ownership experience. And yes, the Tesla Model S can beat many cars in a straight line, but when it comes time to handle, it kind of falls apart. You can't deny that. There are very few cars out there that drive the way a Porsche does. Balancing comfort and strong driving dynamics is very difficult. You really have to fine-tune the suspension to the steering and everything else in between. Porsche has been engineering that balance for years. And of course, Porsche's reliability and dependability is truly unmatched. This interior is 10 times better than what you have in the Model S. And don't get upset, be open-minded. Just go sit in both side by side and just feel around. Even this base, cheaper Taycan feels a lot better than a $100,000 Model S. Yes, I get it, it loses out on the range part, but I promise you not a single day will go by where you will regret dropping this kind of money. Because to be honest, if I spend over $100,000 on a Tesla, I want it to have a $100,000 plus interior. By the way, I will be reviewing a Tesla Model S in the coming weeks. My friend picked one up a few months ago. I just haven't had the time to film it yet, but look out for that. And don't get me wrong, again, I don't hate Tesla. In fact, I really appreciate what they've done for the automotive industry. I mean, if it wasn't for Tesla, I probably wouldn't be sitting here today driving an all-electric Porsche. It's just, to me, driving and owning a car has to be an overall positive experience. Everything should balance out, especially in this high-end luxury segment. And when it comes to that, this base Porsche Taycan is an outstanding option. Either way, thanks for watching. Make sure you hit like, make sure you hit subscribe, make sure you follow me on Instagram and on TikTok. My handle is @OmarDrives. I'll catch you all in the next one. Take care. Peace. By the way, they have this electric sport sound. I don't know if you can hear it, but take a listen. Let me lean into the speaker a little bit. You hear that? And then when you brake, it's kind of nice. I'm usually not a fan of electric car fake noises. But this is kind of cool. Kind of weird coming out of a Audi R8 V10, where that sounds completely amazing.